Tonight, on First at 9 this Friday, the 18th of April 2025. Faith and heritage. Thousands flock at the Temple of the Tooth to venerate the treasured relic of the Buddha. Special exposition inaugurated after 16-year hiatus. Boots on the ground. Security forces personnel deployed at churches across Sri Lanka as Easter Sunday approaches. Ministry of Defence reveals coordinated efforts to ensure security on Easter Sunday. Threat assessment. International security expert outlines current threats looming over Sri Lanka.
Religious extremism and terrorism, separatism, serious and organized crime, cybercrime, geopolitics and foreign interference.
Further claims that foreign intervention triggers intermittent instability.
We have seen very significant foreign interference in Sri Lanka that has led to intermittent instability.
Taxing trust. Erosion of trust in global economic infrastructure prompting tariffs and trade obstacles, claims IMF chief. Calls on all nations to work together since a well-balanced economy is within reach.
More resilient world economy is within reach. All countries should play their part to strengthen the global economy.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lanka Kiren Perata. ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
කට්ට පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත් අපි පරිස්සම්.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Singha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world, brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now in your top story tonight, international security specialist Professor Rohan Gururatne asserts that Sri Lanka must adopt a multidirectional active foreign policy, advocating relations with all global powers in order to stabilize and trigger economic resurgence. Joining our current affairs program at Hyde Park with Indiva Riyamuwatta, Professor Gururatne noted that it is crucial to counter foreign interference in Sri Lanka, which has led to intermittent instability. Professor Rohan Gururatne also claims that it is crucial to educate the country's political leadership of the significance and adverse repercussions of foreign interference in Sri Lanka.
How do you identify and analyze the current threats facing the Sri Lankan economy and the nation?
Sri Lanka faces 5 principal threats. First is from religious extremism and terrorism. It's a global threat, so Sri Lanka is no exception. Second is Sri Lanka faces a threat of separatism. The threat has diminished to a large extent, but it is still lingering around. The third threat Sri Lanka is facing is from serious and organized crime, primarily from narcotics, but also human smuggling and other forms of criminality. And the fourth form of threat that Sri Lanka is facing is from cybercrime. That is how the cyberspace is being manipulated, cyberspace is being infiltrated by various entities, including criminal groups, and compromise the security of cyberspace. Also the fake news, online falsehoods and manipulations, how the cyberspace is used for that, and also to scam people. And the fifth very significant threat is geopolitics and foreign interference, and critical importance for Sri Lanka to mitigate that foreign interference, because as you know, we are very strategically located, and because of that we are seeing huge competition by both eastern and western nations for influence in Sri Lanka. So these are the 5 principal threats we face, and they need to be properly understood and they need to be properly managed. We have to constantly and continuously educate our political leadership, because ultimately the security of a nation depends on the key decisions that are made at the National Security Council and outside the National Security Council, and most of those decisions are made by the political leaders. So the officials should constantly brief the political leaders.
How do you think the geopolitical situation here supports Sri Lanka, not just in economic recovery, but also in preparing ourselves to face these threats while also ensuring that Sri Lanka doesn't fall prey to regional power play?
Sri Lanka's foreign policy should be to work with both the East and the West to build its economy. Sri Lanka should not align itself either with China or with India or with the West. Sri Lanka should work with all the powers to stabilize its economy and recover its economy. There's nothing more important. And that kind of foreign policy is called multi-directional foreign policy. So the first foreign policy we had was non-alignment, then we went to neutrality, and now we should have active foreign policy working with the Chinese, with the Indians, with the Europeans, and with the Americans, and with any other country that wants to work with us, for example with the Gulf countries. So that means Sri Lankan leaders must understand geopolitics. If you don't understand geopolitics, you cannot rule Sri Lanka effectively and also maintain stability and security. We have seen very significant foreign interference in Sri Lanka that has led to instability, and this intermittent instability will continue unless we understand what is happening globally and how to engage those countries.
Now, as devotees across the island prepare to welcome Easter Sunday with certain dark and tragic memories lingering in their minds, the Ministry of Defence, together with the Sri Lanka Police, revealed plans to implement special security measures covering all churches across the island during Easter Masses. Armed Forces personnel were seen deployed at churches across the island from this morning.
On the 21st of April 2019, on Easter Sunday, coordinated suicide bombings targeted 8 locations in Sri Lanka, including 3 churches located in Colombo, Negombo and Batticaloa, and 3 5-star hotels in Colombo, claiming the lives of at least 272 people and injuring over 500. 6 years later, victims, their families and loved ones still await the justice promised to them by 3 successive governments. As devotees across Sri Lanka prepare to celebrate Easter Sunday, the Ministry of Defence noted that Defence Secretary retired Air Vice Marshal Sampath Tuyakonta instructed commanders of the armed forces to implement comprehensive security measures to ensure the safety of worshippers attending church services on Easter Sunday. The ministry stated that instructions have been granted to facilitate these measures effectively through coordinated efforts with the Ministry of Public Administration, provincial councils and local government in order to maintain a secure environment across all places of worship. Accordingly, special security measures were implemented at all churches across the country from this morning. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka Police also announced that steps have been taken to implement a special security program in view of the upcoming Easter Sunday celebrations. The police, Special Task Force and Triforces personnel are to be deployed to all churches on Sunday, the 20th of April, to ensure security during the Easter Sunday celebrations.
ඔබ සමගින් පෙරට Union Assurance. චන්දරුසුමේ කාගෙන් මන අපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
After a long wait of 16 years, Sri Lankans across the island and foreigners across the world now have the rare opportunity to witness and venerate firsthand the sacred tooth relic of the Buddha. Siri Dalanda Vandanava, the special exposition of the sacred tooth relic, commenced today under the guidance of the chief prelates of the Malwatu and Asagiri chapters. On commencement day of the special exposition, a whopping 100,000 devotees were offered the rare opportunity to venerate and pay homage to the sacred tooth relic.
The special exposition of the sacred tooth relic themed Siri Dalada Vandanava, Sacred Veneration of the Tooth Relic of the Lord Buddha, commenced today at the Temple of Tooth Relic in Kandy. Thousands of devotees, both local and foreign, flocked at the ancient city to pay their respects to the sacred tooth relic. Exposition of the sacred relic was organized this year for public veneration after a hiatus of 16 long years. The sacred tooth relic was brought to Sri Lanka through the port in Trincomalee in 310 AD. The relic, which was keenly venerated and ardently protected, traversed Sri Lanka's rich history through multiple kingdoms and is now securely enshrined at Dalada Maligawa, the temple of the sacred tooth relic in Kandy. According to the Dhatuvansa, corroborated by Fa Hien, the infamous Chinese explorer, the first public display of the sacred tooth relic was held 1715 years ago in Anuradhapura during the reign of King Kitsirimevan. In recent history, special expositions of the sacred tooth relic were held in 1828, 1882, 1972, 1978, 1991, 2001, 1995, 2001 and 2004, with the latest exposition being held in 2009. The chief prelates of the Malwatu and Asgiri chapters arrived at the Temple of Truth Relic to formally inaugurate the Siri Dalada Vandanava. Subsequently, President Anura Dissanayake too arrived at the Temple of the Truth Relic to commence the public exposition. A special religious service venerating the Truth Relic was led by chief prelates of the Malwatu and Asgiri chapters. The relic's chief custodian Diyawatana Nilame Pradeep Nilangadala also attended this religious service. The President ceremoniously marked the commencement of the Siri Dalada Vandanava by placing the first floral tribute to the sacred Truth Relic and venerating it. A group of foreign diplomats from several countries also participated in the inaugural event of the Siri Dalada Vandanava. Devotees who had queued up since yesterday were later granted entrance to the Temple of the Truth Relic. This evening, devotees from across the island were seen gathered in long queues, hoping to witness firsthand the sacred Truth Relic. 3 new routes have been introduced to increase public access to the temple premises. The new routes include entry from DSN Anayaka Vidya to the temple's entrance, from Rathabokwa through Sangarajamavata to the main entrance of the temple, and from Rathabokwa through the temple grounds to the main entrance. The veneration of the sacred Truth Relic, which commenced at 12:30 p.m, officially ended at 5:30 p.m. today. Devotees who are unable to venerate the sacred Truth Relic today were seen remaining in queues, hoping to secure the rare opportunity tomorrow. Large crowds hoping to venerate the relic were seen departing from the Colombo Fort railway station last night to Kandy. Similarly, this morning, 2 large crowds were seen departing from the Colombo Fort railway station towards Kandy.
We are now operating 8 trains daily to Kandy in a bid to expand transportation facilities in view of the Dalanda exposition. We will take measures to operate additional trains upon increasing public demand. Special trains will operate even within the Kandy city limits from Gampala, Kadugannava and Katugastota to Kandy within these 10 days. Other trains will operate as usual. I would like to remind all passengers that special trains will only operate to fulfill the transportation requirements of the passengers travelling to Kandy to attend attend the exposition of the sacred tooth relic.
යන මගින්ගේ අවශ්‍යතා සපුරාලීමට.
Meanwhile, a special compartment was reserved for diplomats on the Daily Express departing from Colombo Fort Station this morning, bound to Kandy. Diplomats made their way to Kandy to take part in the public exposition of the sacred relic. The compartment was reserved pursuant to a special request by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Accordingly, 44 diplomats from several countries, including Vietnam, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Nepal, the Netherlands, India, Myanmar, Palestine, France, New Zealand, Cuba, Egypt, Japan, the United Kingdom, Thailand, Canada and South Korea embarked on the journey to Kandy by train to attend the Siridalada Vandanava.
The first time to witness the relics, so we are excited about this.
Buddha was born in Nepal and it's a very pleasure moment for all Nepalese.
It's a great honor to be invited to this, and actually my wife is from Myanmar and is a Buddhist, so she's very honored to be able to go.
For anyone, be that a Buddhist or not, it's a lifetime experience. We are really grateful.
In the meantime, to facilitate the transportation of devotees attending the exposition, the Sri Lanka Transport Board has deployed additional buses travelling from the Colombo Central bus stand to Kandy. The special bus services will operate until the 29th of April. With the deployment of additional buses, thousands of devotees from across the country were seen arriving at Kandy. Meanwhile, the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic has organised provisions to serve dinner to 35,000 devotees attending the exposition. Dinner will be served between 7:30 p.m. and 2 a.m. every night, while an additional dining facility to accommodate up to 1,000 individuals at once has also been established. Several groups also organised dansal for devotees waiting in long queues. All devotees seeking the latest updates on the queues building up before the Temple of Tooth Relic are advised to visit the official website of the Sri Lanka Police on www.police.lk. The police urged devotees anticipating to venerate the sacred tooth relic to refrain from carrying heavy luggage, cameras, recording equipment and electronic devices into the Temple of Tooth Relic premises.
Now, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization announced that Sri Lanka's trilingual inscription known as the Tribhasha Sellipiya and documents connected to the Panuduravadaya in 1873 have been inscribed in the UNESCO Memory of the World Register. The trilingual inscription, which was discovered in 1911 and now preserved in the Colombo National Museum with a replica exhibited in the Galle National Museum, is a stone tablet with Chinese, Persian and Tamil inscriptions praising the Buddha, God Vishnu and Allah. This inscription remains the only trilingual inscription having texts in Chinese, Tamil and Persian, which represent three different regions and cultures. The four documents connected with the Panuduravadaya, meanwhile, which were drafted when religious discord between Buddhists and Christians were on the rise in the mid-19th century, consists correspondence between the Christian and Buddhist leaders advocating for an open dialogue on doctrinal issues and a transcription of the entire dialogue. At the moment, UNESCO's Memory of the World Register comprises 570 collections, including those from the scientific revolution, women's contribution to history, and major milestones of multilateralism.
Fast-track your career from O-levels with eSoft.
Diabetesol, සීනි වලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
Kalani wire, kisiginnak ne.
Kisiginnak ne. Kalani Fire Shield Wire.
Welcome back. Now, opposition leader and leader of the Samagi Janabalawegaya, Sajith Premadasa, points out that although the government vowed to prioritize renewable energy, they have now become subservient agents of the non-renewable energy mafia. Speaking at a public rally, Premadasa reiterates the commitment of the SJB to providing the public with the best services once victory is secured at the impending elections.
Leader of the opposition and Samagi Janabalawegaya, Sajith Premadasa, called on the chief prelates of Malwatu and Asgiri chapters this morning and invoked blessings. Meanwhile, a public rally in view of the local government pause was held yesterday in the Alahara area in Min area under the patronage of party leader Sajith Premadasa.
මැතිවරණ වේදිකාවේ මේ ආණ්ඩුව පච දොඩුව විශ්වාස කරනවා.
This government, which continues to deceive the public during election rallies, thinks that the public can be misled 3 times in a row. What did they say at each election rally? They vow to prioritize renewable energy sources under their governance. However, at the moment, the government has turned into a subservient agent of the coal power plant mafia, the thermal power plant mafia, and the fuel mafia. How can they take back their pledge after winning a majority of seats in parliament and securing the office of the president? Aren't they deceiving the public by doing so? They refuse to grant funds for local government institutions if the public does not vote for them in the local government polls. However, we request the public to not fear such statements. We assure you that we will provide the required services to the public once the SJB secures victory in the impending local government elections. We remain committed to providing you with the best services once power is secured.
The arrest of former parliamentarian and Chief Minister of the Eastern Province, Sivaneswara Chandrakanthan, continues to dominate political discourse in the country. Let's take a look at some of the latest thoughts shared on the matter today. The
abduction of the Eastern University's Vice-Chancellor by Pillayan seems to have bothered Uday Gammanpilla. Gammanpilla's concern is not something that occurred automatically. If Gammanpilla's ailment over this issue is akin to a common cold, the Rajapakshas might be suffering from pneumonia at the moment. The Rajapakshas are definitely connected to this controversy. Gammanpilla decided to appear as Pillayan's attorney because he is an agent for the Rajapakshas. Why would Pillayan retain Gammanpilla as his legal counsel for an abduction case when there are so many other lawyers to choose from? This decision is inconceivable at first glance. The police and the minister can't seem to agree on the course of action that led to Pillayan's arrest. What is the actual truth? What is clear at the moment is that the government has arbitrarily arrested Pillayan, a man who abandoned the LTTE, embraced democracy and toiled hard to defeat the LTTE. On the other hand, Uday Gammanpilla has a keen understanding of the sacrifices made by Pillayan. Gammanpilla must have met Pillayan as his attorney. I believe what he did was right. Gammanpilla has claimed the media spotlight today. Clad in all white, he seems to be mounting the fight for patriotism. He appears to be the leader of the Sinhalese. However, at one point in time, he used to beg for money to finance his election campaign. Now, Uday Gammanpilla is the retained legal counsel of the murderous Pillayan. The corrupt political deals they made behind closed doors are being gradually exposed now. A lot more is still to be exposed. Our leaders might not remember this now, but Pillayan was not just a former member of the LTTE. He was a former member of the LTTE who committed his entire life to defeat the LTTE. He is a true patriot. If we had not secured his assistance, then we might not have been able to defeat the LTTE. We must show these patriots our gratitude. Certain members of the LTTE are members of parliament today. Some are wealthy businessmen. However, those individuals who fought against the LTTE are being arrested today over alleged past crimes. Is this right? I decided to appear on behalf of Pillayan in protest of this betrayal.
අන්න ඒ මහා පාවාදීමට එරෙහිවයි මම පිල්ලයන් වෙනුවෙන් පෙනී සිටින තීරණය කළේ.
දැන් ගම්මන්පිල ගිහිල්ලා පිල්ලයන් බලලා ඉල මොකද කියන්නේ?
Now what does Gammanpilla say after his meeting with Pillayan? He claims that Pillayan was in prison between 2015 and 2020. He says Pillayan is not connected to the Easter Sunday attacks since those attacks took place in 2019. Pillayan was not arrested over the Easter Sunday attacks. He was arrested for abducting a professor. Gammanpilla seems to be touting a different tale. Why is that? Why is he in such a rush? Gammanpilla must remain patient without complaining so much. According to Gammanpilla, Pillayan was the hero who single-handedly defeated Prabhakaran. If we are to listen to Gammanpilla, we must hail Pillayan as a national hero. They are trying to conjure up a rhetoric saying that we are attempting to implicate an innocent individual over the Easter Sunday attacks. This matter is not connected with the Easter Sunday attacks. If they have evidence of Pillayan's conduct when he was a terrorist, imprison him by all means. There is no debate on that. Pillayan is not a patriot. He is a terrorist. Although he was a traitor at one point in history, he must be hailed as a patriot now. We cannot under any circumstances undermine the support he granted the state when he allied himself with the government. If we do that, we will go down in history as an ungrateful nation. There is nothing wrong in calling him a patriot at one point in time. I don't believe that to be true. Him defecting from the LTTE and allying himself with the government did help us win the war to a certain degree. That is all I have to say.
Manusat Derana, the social responsibility arm of TV Derana, organised a special ceremony to plant coconut saplings at the auspicious time today to plant trees this new year. The national ceremony for the special deed was held in Bibile today in partnership with the CBL Sera Group.
According to the annual Nakatsi tour, the auspicious time to plant trees commenced today at 10:16 a.m. The national tree planting ceremony took place today at the Sri Bodhirukharamaya temple in Bibile under the patronage of Minister of Plantation and Community Infrastructure Samantha Vidyaratna. Manusat Derana, along with the CBL Sera Group and the Ministry of Plantations and Community Infrastructure, organised the tree planting ceremony at the predetermined auspicious time.
Manusat Derana encouraged people to plant a tree at the auspicious time today. We request the public to engage in coconut cultivation.
Meanwhile, at his residence today, founder of the Derana Media Network, MP Dilip Jayavira, also planted a coconut sapling at the auspicious time.
We planted a coconut sapling at the auspicious time today together with Manusat Derana. Around 100,000 coconut saplings were planted today. We all know that there's a coconut shortage at the moment. As a solution to that issue, we believe that this attempt of Manusat Derana will be appreciated by all Sri Lankans.
Concurrently, several coconut planting ceremonies were carried out in various parts of the island for the New Year's auspicious time by the Manusat Derana and the CBL Sera Group.
Welcome back. You're joining Ada Derana, Sri Lanka's most trusted news source. Now, as the world economy faces significant challenges from trade tensions, rising tariffs and financial market volatility, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, emphasizes that a more resilient and better balanced global economy is still within reach if all nations act together to play their part in strengthening it. The IMF Managing Director also described trade tensions as a long-simmering pot now boiling over, fueled by a deep erosion of trust both in the global economic system and among nations themselves.
The International Monetary Fund's Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva, addressed the global economy yesterday ahead of the IMF's spring meetings.
Financial markets volatility is up and trade policy uncertainty is literally off the charts. As trade tensions flared, global stock prices dropped, even if many valuations remained high. It is a reminder that we live in a world of sudden and sweeping shifts. A better balanced, more resilient world economy is within reach. We must act to secure it. Trade tensions are like a pot that was bubbling for a long time and is now boiling over. To a large extent, what we see is the result of an erosion of trust. Trust in the international system and trust between countries. Then comes national security. In a multipolar world, where things are made may matter more than how much they cost. The logic of national security says that a broad range of strategic goods, from computer chips to steel, must be made at home, and that is worth paying for. Self-reliance is staging a comeback. Putting together all the recent tariff increases, pauses, escalations, and exemptions, it seems clear that the US effective tariff rate has jumped to levels last seen several lifetimes ago, and other countries have responded. And then there are the spillovers. As the giants face off, smaller countries are caught in the cross currents. China, the EU, and the United States, despite having relatively low imports to GDP, are the world's 3 largest importers. Their actions impact the rest of the world. First, Ultimately, trade is like water. When countries put an obstacle in the form of tariff and non-tariff barriers, the flow diverts. We will quantify this cost in our new World Economic Outlook to be released next week. In it, our new growth projections will include notable markdowns, but not recession. We will also see markups to the inflation forecasts for some countries. We need a more resilient world economy, not a drift to division. And to facilitate the transition, policies must allow private economic agents time to adjust and deliver. We have the spring meetings coming, and I expect that as we gather our 191 members, it would provide a vital forum for dialogue at a vital time. All countries, large and small alike, can and should play their part to strengthen the global economy in an era of more frequent and severe shocks.
Now in your local business news, the Purchasing Managers Index for manufacturing reached 63.9 in March this year, recording its highest value for 4 years. All sub-indices posted month-on-month expansions, reflecting a notable improvement in manufacturing activities driven by the strong seasonal demand. The sharp increases in the new orders and production sub-indices, particularly within the food and beverages and textile and wearing apparel manufacturing sectors, were the main contributors to the growth in the overall index. Meanwhile, the PMI for services recorded a value of 69.8 in March, indicating a considerable expansion in services activities. Business activities expanded significantly, supported by the improvements observed across most of the sectors. Employment continued to increase, and the expectations for business activities for the next 3 months continue to improve, yet at a slower rate amidst the uncertainties prevailing around import tariffs imposed by the US. The total number of tourist arrivals in Sri Lanka so far in 2025 has increased up to 816,191, reaching almost the 1 million mark out of 3 million tourist arrivals targeted for this year. Within the first 15 days of the month of April, 93,915 tourists have visited the island nation. The highest number of tourist arrivals were recorded between the 1st and the 7th of April, with 44,908 tourists visiting Sri Lanka. India has so far remained at the top of the list with 18,220 tourists visiting the country, taking up 19.4% of the top source market. In the meantime, the United Kingdom has made its way to the second spot in the top source market list with 11,425 tourist arrivals. A significant number of tourist arrivals were also reported from the Russian Federation, Germany, Australia and France. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.